Do you guys think they're going to lock everybody down?
I don't, and here's why. The environment, well, let me rephrase that. I think there are some areas, some of the more bluer and more, I guess, more metropolitan areas might have limited restrictions. I don't think we're going to see the kind of lockdowns we saw before, because that required an environment of people that this was a brand new thing that they were horrified at. I remember when I made my first anti-lockdown video in March of 2020, and I was being attacked by libertarians, many libertarians who were saying, well, we don't know how serious this is. Maybe we should,
they're scared.
Wait and see. They were scared. People were legitimately and understandably
scared. It might have been
scared.
the apocalypse. I mean, come on.
Everyone was comparing it to the movie Contagion.
Sure.
And the thing is, had it been that serious, I still would have been against lockdowns, because only an idiot would have gone outside. You wouldn't have needed to mandate it. But it created an environment where average everyday people were like, you know what, let's at least give it a couple weeks. I don't know, let's give it a couple months. I don't think that happens this time. I mean, COVID never went away, and everyone's just like, you know what, we now know what it is. We know like our relative, risk tolerance and so forth. We're going to live our life, kind of doing what we had been saying from all along. If you don't feel well, stay home. Yeah. And if you think you're a high risk tolerance, then adjust accordingly. And if you don't, then adjust accordingly. Yeah. I don't think lockdowns are going to be something they're going to be able to do.
Well, and even Fauci has thrown around the word endemic, right? It's harder to get people to lock down for something that they've been living with for several years and have figured out how to manage, right? Like, I don't really hear people saying like, well, you have to test before you come to my wedding or whatever anymore. I also have this theory that they actually don't want full-blown lockdowns, because that means that kids would have to go back to online schooling. And that really drove a surge in homeschooling, because it uncovered all these things where parents were mad
Because we got to see, like, that's, like, it was when my son was doing virtual learning that I realized that they were having a 2-day course on, what was it? White privilege and systemic racism. And I got my voice recorder ready, and I lined it up, and I voice recorded.
We're taking this class together.
The whole thing for like the 2 days of that.
That's wild.
And my son was like, "Mom, our whole family is racist," and I was like,
"Incorrect,
no,
sir. No,
not actually."
Also, a Democrat's president, and they don't want massive job losses. So I mean, there's that as well. I don't see.
And they can't. And if they had to pay everybody to stay home, they'd have to pull money from Ukraine, and we already know that Zelensky's asked us and Europe to fund the next election.
Or they do like they did in 2020 and 2021 and just print out like 40% of all the currency
that
ever
worked
created.
Amazing.
And so where we already have high inflation in a year or so later, now you're looking at 15-20% official inflation and probably closer to 25% unofficial.
You guys,
I don't see that happening. They're pushing these mask mandates, and I think it's a lot of it is like, how far can we push? Government is a habitual line stepper. It is this constant like, how much can I make people do what I want them to do? But I think they realized that the lockdowns, even with people as scared as they were, they turned up the boiling water a little too hot for the frog to tolerate. They've kind of gone back, and I think now they're going to do these like kind of smaller thing, like, well, can we get a mask mandate, but just in, the more blue areas? Is that going to work? How far can we push? I don't see lockdowns happening.